What's up, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of In Focus Podcast. My name is Grayson Singleton. Thank you so much for listening on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you might be finding the show. Coming up on our exciting episode today, our main focus will not even be on one of the major American sports, so you do not want to miss what I'm going to be talking about in our main story today. Also on today's show, the San Diego Padres are going all in this season on their chase for a World Series title, and the Indianapolis Colts have a new quarterback. So welcome in, let's get started. But first, before we get to that, let's catch up on what the heck happened last week. The Brooklyn Nets. They swept their Western Conference road trip across the Pacific Coast, winning all 5 of those games, and 4 of them without superstar Kevin Durant, who was on the shelf with a hamstring injury. During this trip, they defeated the Los Angeles Lakers, the presumptive favorite to come out of the Western Conference for the NBA Finals, and the Los Angeles Clippers, who could be the second or third best team in the West. The defeat of the Lakers came handily, even though the Lakers were without superstar Anthony Davis and will likely be without him for the foreseeable future. Brooklyn also took care of the Clippers on Sunday night by 2, likely as a result of a not so exciting call to end the game. Anyway, the Brooklyn Nets are 5-0. Their winning streak is now at 6, and they are half a game behind the Philadelphia 76ers for first place in the Eastern Conference. So the takeaway for Brooklyn is now, yes, they are the highest scoring team. They are highly entertaining to watch, and it can only get better once Durant is fully healthy, which he hasn't really been for much of the season, partly due to injury, partly due to COVID, and partly due to who on earth is he hanging around because he keeps having to quarantine. Anyway, they are still the worst defensive team in the NBA, combined with being the highest scoring team in the NBA, which should make for entertaining games down the stretch as they look to overtake Philadelphia for that top spot in the Eastern Conference and represent the conference in the NBA Finals. To the NFL, where the Indianapolis Colts have their successor to the retired Phillip Rivers. The Colts traded a 2021 third-round pick and a 2022 second-round pick that could become a first-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for quarterback Carson Wentz. The former number 2 overall pick from the 2016 draft fell out with the Eagles after his dismal performances this season led to him being benched for rookie Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz is now reunited with former Eagles offensive coordinator Frank Reich in Indianapolis, who is now the head coach. Reich was Wentz's offensive coordinator in 2017 when Wentz would have won the MVP award had it not been for an unfortunately ill-timed torn ACL. The Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl that year behind quarterback Nick Foles. Now, that conditional second-round pick for 2022 can become a first-round pick if Carson Wentz plays in either 70% of the Colts' offensive snaps or leads the Colts to the playoffs and plays in 75% of the snaps. That, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, and I hope I quoted that correctly. To the tennis courts, Novak Djokovic has won yet another Australian Open. It is his 18th major after his defeat of Daniil Medvedev in the final. Since 2003, Djokovic has won 18 majors. Combine that with the other members of the Big Three in men's tennis, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, those 3 have combined for 51% of all major titles in men's tennis, which leaves only 14 majors to be won by anybody else not named Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic. And the reign of the Joker just continues to grow, even though as he gets up there in age. And the new breed of tennis players on the men's side is going to be very interesting because now you have Nadal, who's in his mid-30s, Djokovic, who is 38, Federer, who is 39, and this breed is starting to phase their way out. But for right now, we can still enjoy the dominance of the Serbian tennis player. Djokovic did not lose a set in either the final or the quarterfinal, and only one set and only one match in this year's Australian Open went to the decisive 5th set. All right, that's it for what the heck happened last week. Glad you could catch up with that. Let's move on to our main story. Let's transition from men's tennis to women's tennis. And this will probably be the most extensive time you ever see me talk about tennis, even though I'm a huge tennis fan. Because something historical happen this weekend in the Australian Open on the women's side. Naomi Osaka has now overtaken Serena Williams as the best tennis player right now. And I have no problem and no hesitancy saying that. Now, before I get to the actual head-to-head matchup with Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka defeated Jennifer Brady to win the Australian Open. And this is how dominant Osaka was in this tournament. Only one match was not won in straight sets. She annihilated everyone. And up till this point in her career, Osaka is perfect once she gets to the quarterfinals. She is a lock that Osaka will win a major once she gets to the final 8 players. She's 4-0 in major finals and 12-0 once she gets to the quarterfinals. And she has 4 major titles. Only Serena Williams with 23 and her sister Venus with 7 have more amongst active players. And Osaka is 23 years of age. Her defeat of Serena Williams was not even close. She won 6-3, 6-4, which equals the equivalency of a tennis blowout. She is now 3-1 against Serena Williams, Osaka is, and 16 years younger. Ladies and gentlemen, the torch in women's tennis has been passed. Serena Williams is no longer the target now. It is Naomi Osaka. And when you watch Naomi Osaka play tennis, it doesn't take long to realize that this is the next great tennis star. She's dominant in all facets of the game. She is head and shoulders better than everybody else. And at such a young age, with the exit of Maria Sharapova due to other circumstances, and now Serena Williams getting up there in age and her body naturally breaking down as a result of attrition at now 39 years old, she cannot hang with this young thoroughbred that is the Japanese star, Osaka. And what's interesting to me about Osaka, and this is what we thought we were going to see in the Super Bowl this year, had Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs defeated Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What's different about those two compared to these two tennis stars is that Osaka is more than just a thorn in the great Serena Williams side. She is a wall in front of her. Keep this in mind. Serena Williams has 23 major titles. They're only one less than the great Margaret Court for the most all-time in women's tennis history. And 3 times she has been able to reach a point where she has gotten very close to number 24. And the only woman that has stopped her in the last 4 years is Naomi Osaka, going all the way back to the U.S. Open from 2017. It's just sheer dominance. And the thing that's different about them with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady is that Brady hasn't been wiped out by the young new star that is Patrick Mahomes, who is also a new father. Congratulations to him and his fiance on welcoming their daughter to the world on Sunday. But Mahomes is nothing more than just a pesky thorn, a pesky flea when it comes to Tom Brady. Because Brady, even whether it's regular season, postseason, or now in Super Bowl 55, has managed to get the better of Patrick Mahomes multiple times. That cannot be said with Serena Williams as it pertains to holding off the comeuppance and the ascent of Naomi Osaka. It's almost as if Osaka flew under the radar long enough for her to develop her skills so much so that when the time came for her to face Serena Williams, there was no contest. And it's been magnified. She's 3-1 against Serena, and just annihilated her in the semis of this year's Australian Open at an absolute dominance. To the point where at her press conference, Serena Williams is starting to realize her own mortality. Because as an athlete, you always want to hold out for that one more. And in tennis, all you have to do is manifest one good tournament, one good major, one good US Open, one good Australian Open, one good French Open. And she's tied with Margaret Court for the most all-time. And she's managed to do that up until she faces Osaka. She's done it. Now, she's not doing it in the same dominant fashion that she did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But she's still winning enough to get there, only to be stopped by the same young lady each time. And when you watch that press conference, you see more than just somebody who lost. You see somebody who's realizing that her time is running out. And her goal of getting that one more seems like it is being impeded by an impenetrable wall that is only getting more and more fortified. To the point that Serena Williams may just have to get lucky and navigate around Osaka if she wants that 24th title. That might be the case, because every time she's going up against Osaka, the defeat is only getting larger and larger and larger. So let's talk about Osaka real fast. After losing to the Japanese star, Jennifer Brady, after the final, said this, quote, "She's an inspiration to all of us, and what she's doing for the game is amazing in getting the sport out there. I hope young girls at home are watching and inspired by what she's doing." And the significance of this statement is that is exactly how Osaka felt about the lady that she idolized in Serena Williams, who she's now taken down 3 out of the 4 times they've seen each other. Her inspiration and her effect on the sport already is right there with the greats. To me, as I have started to watch more women's sports as I've gotten older, Naomi Osaka might be one of the more influential female athletes I have ever taken note of. Obviously, Serena Williams is there as well. But this is Naomi Osaka. She is the highest paid female athlete ever. In 2020, according to Forbes, she earned $37.5 million. That's the most by a female athlete in ever. That's more than Serena Williams garnered in 2020, and she broke the aforementioned Maria Sharapova's record. She's the 29th highest paid athlete, 2 spots ahead of Serena. And that includes prize money from winning all these majors and all these championships, as well as endorsements. And the endorsements part is obviously, in this day and age, as an athlete, you have to be marketable. And the sport of tennis and the sport of women's tennis is only going to get more popular with Osaka as its head. Because as great of a player as she is, she's an even better person. She's an excellent follow on social media. She's very perspective. She's extremely lovable as a person. She's vocal when she wants to be. She can take a stand. and she carries herself extremely well on the court, in interviews, and off the tennis court as well. And this was none more apparent than what happened in the events of last summer, when it came to the murder of George Floyd and the entire social justice movement that gripped America in a way that we had never seen America gripped, probably since 9/11. And her stances were spot on. She set an example of what it was like to be a leader in a time of crisis. You saw that you saw the Black Lives Matter mask. You saw the Breonna Taylor mask. Everywhere Osaka goes, even though she's an athlete, she never loses perspective on life. And when we talk about great athletes, a lot of what I like to consider has to do with that. Has to do with how do you weave together your sport and what's going on in the world. And that's something LeBron James does very well. And that's something Osaka is doing very well now. And with the events of what happened over the last summer, over really the last year, since the advent of the coronavirus, a lot of athletes have been thrusted into a not very enviable role in terms of societal leadership. And there's many reasons for that. Most of them are for another time and another day and another show. But examples matter. And the fact that Jennifer Brady said that this is somebody that young girls should pay attention to, I think it's somebody young children should pay attention to. And we're saying this about a young lady who is 23 years of age. Like think about this. She is already somebody who is worth emulating. And scientifically, her brain is not fully developed. And that's what a special person that Naomi Osaka is. And I'm not even talking about her as a tennis player. She is great for our world. What else is she up to? Well, she's a part owner of the National Women's Soccer League, North Carolina Courage. She's a part owner of that franchise. Everywhere you turn, she's making an impact somewhere. And that's really cool for an athlete. Said Max Kellerman, further emphasizing what I'm saying here. Said Max Kellerman, she is not even next. The time, and I'm paraphrasing now, the time of Naomi Osaka is now. She's right now.